Okay, take two. Sorry, guys. I forgot his little doohickey.
Right. So we're still learning all the ways to screw up, which we can do. I can personally do. She doesn't do it as much as I do, but
That's not true.
making coffee, I can screw it up in every kind
That's
of way.
actually hilarious.
So, what we're doing is learning how to wade through all the changes in the social media availability and such as that. What we discussed is being able to do all of the social media platforms live at the same time, and we're getting close. She's getting close. We as close as I could be involved with it is actually hugging on her and thanking her. So anyway, we've been together for quite a while, and we just enjoy each other. Still do. We're well aware. Each of us are aware of our own shortcomings, and we like each other, so that works out real well. Um,
Always cool when you're married to your best friend.
yeah, hanging out with your best friend, we could drive all day long and not be bored. You
I
know,
think we get more cranky when we don't spend time together.
hmm not with each other, but cranky. Period. So, enough of our love affair. We've been doing this live stream. The premise was actually set up so that you could ask a question at any given time during this time period that we're on, and I could answer as best I could whatever questions you might have. Um, and it's interesting to talk to people and have conversations, albeit slightly disconnected. It is very interesting to interact with people outside of my circle, which is pretty good size. It covers 4 or 5 counties, and I don't know where anywhere near 1% of all the population. I just interact with probably over a 5 year period, probably 1,000 people,
Or more.
maybe more. But this lets me have the chance to get to know more of you guys and help you with, if possible, with whatever situation that you have that you'd like an opinion on. And as a repairman, I'm still learning. Today I was finishing up a chain link fence, 6 foot high, plastic coated black post, everything else.
Holy hell, are they expensive?
Right, the pieces on that are quite expensive, at least through Lowe's. So the next time I'll do that, I'll probably order from outside of Lowe's. It was a cost plus, so
Oh, was it?
mhm, whatever it costs, that's what they paid. I don't mark up materials either. And then I went and put a deadbolt in a door, and then I went and worked on a electric strip heater. Found out that it had a heat limit switch bad. Another one was looking way worse than the one that was bad, but so I ordered 2 of those today. And then I went to see about hooking up a stove, electric stove, but didn't have enough time to do that and uh, get to this live stream. Tomorrow is another interesting day. I'm going to start out the day probably, well, just to start the day out today, we put new headlights, lenses, and bulbs in the front of the truck because it was getting where my signal lights were brighter than my headlights. Um, so that was an accomplishment. And then tomorrow, if I have a chance, it's going to rain in the morning. I was going to try to put the shocks on. May not, Once I get the shocks on, then I can get the front end aligned. I get new tires and get the front end aligned. About that time, everything else will wear out, like the motor and transmission. But tomorrow we'll be trenching for where sewer lines are going through a ravine quite a ways, like 30 feet of it. And that's crazy, man, how much work I'm having to do to keep those things repaired and built up. And anyway,
That's insane.
I've not ever seen a situation quite like this one, but I'm sure there's one out there. So anyway, we were talking about how to start your own repair business or maintenance business. And one subject that hasn't been touched on in this, in order to do this business, is actual tools. So we have been, blessed to have a lot of tools. I carry probably, my truck unladen is supposed to weigh 4,400 pounds.
Flea Market Floppy Disk says you got a great channel, Straight Air Repair. I've learned a ton watching.
And I learn from everybody else. There's never been a day when I didn't learn something. Sometimes not a lot, but I always learn something. I need to learn about solar, and I have books on it. I have all these books on Practical Handyman's Encyclopedia, which is way back in the day. There's a couple other projects I would like to get involved with, a lot of other projects I'd like to get involved with. So it's a lot of fun learning, and glad to share with whatever I can to help you guys or give you a tilt toward one direction or another. But like the tools, when I first started, now I have 4,000 pounds of tools. I have too much. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to go back to a box fan, which I used to drive. And it was awkward for me because I'm kind of don't like the idea of pulling up in a big old van, and also the box vans would have struggle. I'd have to struggle to get into certain places, getting in traffic and all those kind of things. But that's where I'm at.
You're one of the best mobile home repair channels out there, in my opinion.
Thank you. And I'm working to improve because I need to be more informative. This new phone that I'm using has kind of got me daunted. I think it's a mental block, but I'll put out more recent videos, which you won't see right away because there's a backlog. There's quite a bit of videos out there.
And we've started Trek Talks too.
Yeah.
Where he just talks about whatever while he's driving somewhere.
Believe it or not, driving, quite often I think about a lot of things. She asked me one time, hey, do you think whenever your mouth is open, or do you think with your mouth closed?
Well, no, a lot of guys, when they close their mouth, their brain is empty. They're not thinking.
So when guys have their mouth open, a lot of guys, where'd you get that from?
From a couple who she asked him, what are you thinking about when your mouth is closed?
And he says nothing.
And she's like, no, what conversation's going on in your head when your mouth is closed?
My head is full of things. So going down the road, there's lots going on. I just need to pay more attention. I don't have a problem with getting into accidents, but I sometimes drive past where I need to go, that kind of thing. Can't get over in traffic. That's something unusual in this area. But anyway,
I don't know. We're getting to where we have some pretty good traffic.
Just when I thought that I had all the tools that I probably need for a while, I had to buy a tool today because I didn't want to drive. And that's the thing. I have to drive all the way back to where I live from where I'm working, which would be way off, or buy the tool, which I can end up making enough money to justify not having to spend the time to go get the tool. So today I bought a jig for drilling a hole for the deadbolt. And the day before that, I bought a hand winch. I already have 2 or 3, but I didn't have a new one. I was like, oh, I'll just go ahead and get a hand winch.
Number one rule, if you're going to have a repair business, do not sell your tools. Do not sell things that make you money.
Yeah, pawn shop or any otherwise. Your decisions are based on, or if you're a repair person, you make money with it. Don't sell the things you make money with. You should have thought about that before you got to the point where you would think about selling those things. And that's your last recourse. You should have already been doing something that you will be doing after you sell those tools. You know, like going to work at McDonald's, whatever it is you're going to do, save your tools. Don't sell your tools and then go on and work at McDonald's. Go ahead and work at McDonald's before you sell your tools, if that makes sense. Day labor, whatever.
Whatever you have to do to make
Go to work for another company. Don't sell your tools. And so what we're talking about is tools. I have a lot of tools right now, and when I say a lot, it's not being expansive. I would fill a semi trailer easy.
You have tool buildings, not toolboxes.
Right. I probably could fill 2 semi trailers, and I'm not talking about spread out and made it all easy accessible. I'm talking about
Packed in there.
there would be a lot of stuff in the second one also. And I need more room, a lot more room, because of it makes me itch.
What makes you?
No, don't worry about it. So it's not like I've stopped buying tools. There's a point where you will think that you're not going to have to buy tools, but you are, because tools wear out. Everything wears out. Everything.
Here's something that I wouldn't think about, just as a layperson. Yard sales,
Flea markets.
pawn shops, all of those are amazing places to get really good prices on tools. Now you need to know what you're spending for.
So what she's talking about is things that I still do. I don't go to pawn shops very much, but when I do, I look at the prices of things, and quite often a pawn shop is not. They usually don't have good deals because they think they can get you to make payments on something, so therefore they can charge almost new prices. It's really ridiculous because they're giving like 20% of what the thing's worth. Why wouldn't they sell it for 40%, which they would double their money, plus whatever you might have made payments with interest on? But they don't. It's ridiculous what they do. So, I mean, occasionally I go and occasionally I find something, but the only way I know what to buy is to scope out what those things cost new. But again, when you first start out, you don't need every tool, nor should you buy a tool every time you see a good deal. So like if you had a pipe threading tool, you're likely not to use that very much. Even if you're a plumber, rigid pipe is just not something you do unless it's like in a commercial situation or a gas line. Nobody's using it for plumbing anymore, for water. It won't hold up to freezing any better than PVC. Well, it does a little bit better, but it's still going to freeze and bust. It'll bust. So rigid pipe is used in special situations like indoors and industrial or commercial situations. So that particular tool is not going to be something you want to buy when you start out. If you think you're going to do something like that, you can get a hand one, but even that's expensive. So initially what you're going to do is go buy the lengths that you need to make it happen. It's a little more expensive, but unless you're doing rigid pipe all the time, you don't need that. So we break it down to the basic tools. And that's where I'd like to start, is to talk to you about basic tools, what you would need. And this would be something that a lot of people would need just at home. And with that being said, I'll start. Like, for instance, a hammer. You can start out with one hammer. And I suggest a straight claw would be the direction that you would go. It would not need to be a framing hammer, because a framing hammer cannot do the lightweight nails and things like that. It's much more difficult to get into tight places. And believe me, hammers have been used in all kinds of things for other than just hammering on things. I've used it to pull, pry, push, any number of things. So just like a regular, 16, 20 ounce hammer, even a little less than that. Straight claw, though. And the reason I say straight claw is because a straight claw allows you to peck away at things with the claw more. Now, as time passes, you can pick up a rounded or a curved claw hammer, and that allows you to do something different. But let's start with the straight claw, lightweight hammer. Does not need to be top of the line brand. Does not. A lot of times, to this day, if I go to a garage sale or an auction or anything, and they sell for anywhere near $3, $4, I buy them all. That way, if it accidentally gets left by the people who work for me, which you may not have that, I can still not have to spend $30 for a hammer. So I have $3 or $4, and I'm not as brokenhearted about it. So that hammer does not need to be steel. It does not need to be S-Wing or some other high dollar brand. It just needs to be a decent hammer, and you can get one fairly inexpensive. And the reason you would want fairly inexpensive right off the bat is because you're not going to just need one tool to keep versatility up. You're going to need multiple tools, and we'll go on and talk more about that. So, screwdrivers, blade screwdrivers, and Phillips. You need multiple sizes of each, like 3 or 4 of each. Do they need to be new? No, they do not. You do not need them to be new. Probably 4 sizes of each one. And now you can buy those fairly inexpensively in sets. I can tell you one set that I've bought over and over and over again. Harbor Freight has a bright orange electrical set, and everybody knows where my screwdrivers from that is. It's in the electrical bag. I have plenty of other screwdrivers, but they go to that because they know right where it is. They don't have to search around; they can find it. I say, go get me. Well, at Harbor Freight, insulated, which is the plastic coated screwdrivers, are like $12 for a set. It's a really good deal. And you can find deals like that at Harbor Freight, brand new. So we said hammer, blade, and Phillips screwdrivers. You might also get a 1/4-inch drive screwdriver. Does not need to be ratcheting, but just a 1/4-inch drive screwdriver. That way you can put in bits and then go from there. That being said, then you can get a bit set of all the different sizes. There's plenty of those out there. You can get brand new sets for like $15 on sale, all the way up to larger sets for $30, $40. But that'll have drill bits and all that. And that's another thing you will need, is a set of drill bits. I wouldn't get too carried away with a whole bunch, because you end up losing them unless you're very, very organized. If you're very, very organized, You're not very quick. That's okay. That's a trade-off. To be organized, you end up being slower. To put everything back where it goes, you can't get to the next job as quick. That might be all right. Um, so initially, you don't need a lot of any one thing. You need a wide variety of things so that you can do them. Electric drill, I would say a lightweight one, and then a heavier hammer drill later on, probably later on. When I say heavier, enough that you would not burn it up spinning drywall mud or mortar or concrete, things like that. It's difficult. The best drill I have is one made in the 50s. Believe it or not, it's got a steel uh, outside. There's nothing plastic on it. Not even the switch is plastic. It's all metal. And that thing is so strong that if I don't hold the bucket, it'll just spin it around if the mud is not thinned out enough. So, um, two different types of drills. Electric, because batteries can, when you first start out, they can be very, very expensive. Right now, Home Depot has a set, and they do every year so far, a big set of Ryobi tools. I mean, the saw, the sawzall, a light, and sander, and it just goes on and on. There's just a whole bag full, probably 8 or 9 tools, and 2 batteries and charger, and for $200. That's a really good deal for Ryobi. Now, Ryobi is one that I settled on. I have used other brands. Initially, I was a big fan of. I used to use Firestorm. I don't know if you remember those, but they were orange. The batteries didn't last very long. If you go further back from there, I used the Sears and the Makita. Makita was quite expensive back then. Sears Craftsman was a white drill that neither one of those, they were fantastically novel, new things. Um, but, they didn't last very long. So later on, I went into Hitachi, a 14.4, 14.5 volt battery. It was pretty high quality. Wasn't particularly cheap, but it wasn't particularly high. Uh, and I used that for quite a while. I used it building decks and things like that. It was a little on the weak side for deck. It didn't last very long. You'd have to have 2 batteries charging, and eventually you'd catch up, and you'd have to wait. But usually I could make it till noon with 2 batteries charging one of them. Yeah, you start out with 3 batteries all charged because you charge them at home. And anyway, that 14.4, it was the first example to me of what I could use and get a lot of work done all day long. But even then, it was, like today, I forgot I've got to go get I have 2 double chargers that charge batteries at the same time, not one, then the other. I need to charge up a lot of the batteries that I have. And I didn't do that back then either. So you'd get on the job and you're like, oh man, the batteries are dead. So I think for about 2 years after the 14.4 Hitachi, I just did all electric. Just said, forget it. This is just ridiculous. And then I started probably 2 years. I just did all electric, which you can do. I mean, you can do that with cords, which is another thing you're going to need is cords. You need a short 25 footer, maybe even a 10 footer, and then a 100 footer and a 50 footer. Then the 100 footer would need to have, it would behoove you to have like a number 12 wire. That's very expensive now. It was then too, just different price for different times. The 50 footer, not so much, but the number 16 extension cords, which are real small, smaller than right at my pinky, that's the insulation on them. They're not going to carry a heavy load. So your 100 footer is one that will carry the heavy load and you won't get the voltage drop. But you can burn up electrical tools by having too small of a cord on too much length on it. And by the way, extension cords can act as a resistor. How? By leaving them coiled up. If you coil them up and then plug it into the wall and then use just a little bit of it, you make a resistor. It literally reduces the amount of voltage. And it's not something that everybody's going to talk about, but it can actually happen. So your extension cords, and now we're back to the batteries. So I started using some other people's tools because I was on the same job. Hey, you should try this out. I'm like, I don't need it. I've been telling people for 2 years I don't need them. I got everything I need. So I tried Milwaukee that was just massively expensive. I tried Hilti, again, hard to find the parts. It was a good quality name, high price. I'm like, oh man, this is painfully expensive and hard to find. And now Milwaukee is in Home Depot, which I'm in an area where Home Depot is pretty present. If you're in a rural area, Home Depot might not be, and therefore Milwaukee is not. Although everything is available online to come right to your house. What I found, and DeWalt kind of popped in. Black & Decker was before that. And DeWalt kind of took Black & Decker's place. As far as I can tell, DeWalt was Black & Decker, but there'll be people argue about that. DeWalt just got real expensive right away. And I was like, well, I'll try Ryobi and see how they do. Really good. It was really, really good. It was not junk. It was not too expensive. It was in the middle, probably on the lower side, and very, very reliable. I really didn't have, I don't really have any issue with anything Ryobi. To this day, they last as long as anything else I've ever seen. And even that includes the batteries. The batteries are all, I guess I'm being told by several people now that they literally put programming in a chipboard to make them go bad on a specific time after a certain amount of time, even if you leave it plugged into the, tool. So anyway, the batteries last a year or so, but you can expect to see that. But I have lots of different battery tools that are all Ryobi. And then that's when I see something like that at a pawn shop for, a tool for $35 without a battery, I'll pick it up because it's about half price. I have a battery powered Sawzall. I have an electric one because I know full well that a battery powered Sawzall will not last very long. If I'm doing much cutting with a Sawzall, it's not going to last. So I just use electric. I have used a lot of different brands of Sawzall. It's more about how you treat the tool or what kind of position you put the tool in. It's how well it lasts. Yes, you can buy higher quality and make it last longer. I'm not going to say that's not true because I actually have a Milwaukee right now. I've had Milwaukee for probably 10 years. Mostly because, I still have the old one before Milwaukee, and it was a skill. And I had the one before that one because it was another brand. It was an opportunity to pick up on Milwaukee for like $45 and I bought it. It's still the old one before this one is still functioning. The switches will wear out, the brushes will wear out. You can fix those things. But a Sawzall, electric and battery powered, will be something that you might want to have. Okay. And a skill saw and a battery skill saw. Now, do you need high quality in those cases? No. As a matter of fact, I have a guy that worked with me, and he was using the Walmart brand. I think it's Hart. And I really haven't seen how that it was way out of line. And I've also seen guys working with Cobalt, which is the offside, the Lowe's low brand. Again, they're probably made by a similar company. They look very similar to all the other ones, and maybe a 10% change so you don't hit a trademark or a, what do you call it, where you go and get, anyway,
I think it's only got to be a 10%.
10% change in order to not break a what do you call it? You got a
trademark.
No, it's not trademark. It is to do with whenever you invent something, you get a license, a patent. If it's 10% different, that patent is not interfered with, and so they just change it up a little bit. And they're all very, very similar. The batteries that Hart has is similar to the DeWalt. So I don't, I haven't seen it. So it's not. I wouldn't consider it an embarrassment. And I want you to understand something. Most people are not looking at your tools to determine if you're good or not.
Most people don't know anything about tools.
Right. Most people don't. They might have an opinion, but if they got you doing it,
they don't care.
They don't care. I think you find that most people really don't notice all your flaws like you do. And your things that you need to improve, they really don't notice. They just need somebody to do these things that either they can't do or they don't want to do. Okay, that's what it is. So your tool does not have to be name brand to be impressive. That's only to other guys who do this. And even those are guys who are vain that you're trying to impress. So it's not important to have name brand. You do get better quality. I mean, you can get into discussions about what is the best quality. I happen to like S-Wing for drywall hammer. But do I need an S-Wing for every other kind of hammer? No. There are some out there that are awkward hammers for me. They're just, they're awkward. They're making some of them with square heads, and I can probably say that there's probably some use for it, but I'm not used to it. So you can have it. I wouldn't, if I saw another guy and his stuff was just starting out and he was working out of his minivan or a minivan, I wouldn't have any problem at all with it.
I'd be in,
huh?
At least he's hustling.
Yeah, man. I'm all about the struggle. I respect anybody who's struggling to make it. I respect that fight, because that's way better than somebody who lays down and lets it happen to them. And I'm all about it. And I know that person's learning. I mean, I tried to work out of a minivan twice. It didn't last very long because the minivan can't handle anywhere near all the tools that I carry, nor can it handle the weight of those tools that I did manage to get into it. I put air shocks in, it still wasn't enough. So most of your minivans, you'd have to be very selective for me to use.
You just got too much weight.
Well, I'm doing so many different things. Now, we talked about skill saws, Sawzall, skill saw electric, skill saw battery, Sawzall electric, Sawzall battery. It behooves you to have all the same kind of battery powered tools, because you can swap one battery from one to the other. Even though all your batteries but one is down, you can then swap from one tool to the other. You need 2 pipe wrenches. and that would be a medium size, not the largest, just a medium size. And as time passes, you'll get all the different sizes, a real small one all the way to, need a 3-footer, but because it's rare that you're going to end up needing a 3-footer. One this long is, only going to be done on rigid pipe. And occasionally you run into that, particularly with gas lines, sometimes with old water lines. So you need 2, not 1, 2. And I've tried a lot of the different ones that are alternate to that. The spring-loaded pipe wrenches, I've got them. I have bent them. They're good in really, really tight areas where you got hardly any room to move. They don't need as much room. I have bent them because they're not solid. But I still have them available on the truck. So that would be something that you need 2 of. And then you need 2 channel locks. Again, you don't need the largest size. You need medium size. Maybe if you can get a set with like 3 or 4, you don't need name brand. Although sometimes name brand's quite a bit easier to deal with, you don't need that to start. Right now, you need that volume of things. Okay. And again, channel locks can easily be found. A lot of people will just dump them because they've moved on to better things, or the wife has got the husband's tools or the boyfriend's tools and he just left them behind. That's happened. And maybe the husband screwed up and she's just getting rid of everything his. I've not been able to be involved with that, but I've heard of it. So just a regular pair of pliers is also something you would use quite often. Just a regular set of pliers. 1, don't need 2, but if you get 2 along the way, that's fine. Also, and then we're going to ride on pliers for a little bit. Lineman pliers, which is an electrical term. Those things can be expensive. Probably $30 new. That's a medium price. You can pay more. And diagonals. Again, electrical term, electrical tool. And then the smaller wire strippers. Again, you would have to, take a look and find some electrical tools. And you can shop around. Usually you can get a pretty decent price at Harbor Freight or some other online place. I think Amazon has quite a bit, and of course everybody else. Let's see. In pliers, you don't really need the kind that crimps to bus clips and things like that. It doesn't happen much. Today I fixed a burnt end on a wire that burnt off because the connection was loose on a heat strip on a heater, and I just used regular lineman pliers. It's neat that if that's all you're going to do is do a lot of crimping a wire, then yes, you would get something to crimp the wire, right? And again, I want to point out, you don't need all these tools all at one time.
Once you start your handyman's business, all these tools are tax deductible.
So you keep your receipts, and they are tax deductible. You're right. And when you lose them, it's a write-off. So it's a loss anyway. So whenever you're trying to get these tools, quite often you can get them as a bundle. I think Home Depot has an electrical bag with the electrical tools their brand is called Commercial.
This time of year is a perfect time of year to get those bundles too.
Yeah.
Because they've got all those bundles on a good price because wives are looking for stuff to buy for their husbands for Christmas.
Like right now, Lowe's has the 3 different sets of Allen wrenches, the metric, standard, and then the smaller one, for $10. It's like $3.33 a piece. So that would be another thing you would need, just basic sets of Allen wrenches. It's wild how you'll find that you're in a position where you need them for littlest of things. Working on, so I remember one of the first times I figured out I needed an Allen wrench set was I was putting together a desk for somebody, and I had to stop what I was doing and go get Allen wrench sets. And so, I mean, I bought one really cheapy set, but it did the job.
We've got them all over.
Yeah, well, I have lots of Allen wrench sets now. But sometimes you can find them a real good deal at Tractor Supply. They have a little section in the front by the registers that's got tools.
Again, Christmas.
And the tools are there.
Or after Christmas is another good time. If you have the after Christmas sales, a lot of times they over order and you can pick up.
They don't
really cheap.
Yeah, they're going to put something else. As a matter of fact, by the time snow hits the ground, they're going to be putting out lawn furniture and air conditioners. So those things are what you're going to need. Also, Allen wrenches. Let's see, a speed square. It's a good idea. There's a lot of things you can do with a speed square, and you just get used to it. But you don't have to have a speed square. I like the Swanson speed square. Do not have to use that brand. You can use a plastic one, but you need one, or any other squares. There's a number of other ones. But the speed square is a triangle. It can be used for a lot of different things. But each one of those, and I used to carry all 4 different kinds of squares, including a framing square. And I still carry a framing square. You will need one at some point to check yourself and make sure that it's what you want. You will need a hacksaw. That seems antique-y, but it will be something that you will need, because you can take that blade off and put it around something and then cut it. Believe me, there's odd situations where you will use it, and you can turn that blade different angles. You don't have to buy a high dollar one, although the better ones are the aluminum frame, medium priced. They last longer. Those hacksaw blades are going to get broken, so you need to have multiple hacksaw blades. All right. A hacksaw blade is exceptionally fragile and gets bent, and once it's bent, you're going to have a hard time. Razor knives. I never stop buying razor knives. Whenever I see them cheap that's where you might find something at a pawn shop.
Those things, I hear clink, 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 clink in my dryer.
Yeah. See, there's always stuff in my pockets when I'm exhausted and shut down for the day. And then it gets washed. When I take it back out there, I don't necessarily clean up my pockets. So, when I go to a pawn shop, that's where they don't focus. They'll put $1 on it. Well, a razor knife now is like $4 to $5, including the folding ones, which is weird that a solid razor knife is as expensive as a folding one you put in your pocket. Doesn't make any sense. But it is something that you will constantly need. You will have a hard time keeping up with them. They disappear. When you crawl underneath the house or go through an attic, invariably they fall out of your pocket. That's something that will happen.
I find them all over the house. are.
So a razor knife is going to be always around. A good set of chisels, not a fancy set, not a high dollar set, but just a decent set of wood chisels. You're going to use them fairly often. It's just the way it is, over and over again. Do I have I abuse the chisels I have. So a reason I don't buy high dollar chisels is because I know I'm not going to be just doing, fine woodworking. I drive that thing in there trying to chop off something that's underneath, and I can't get to it. I'll go ahead and take care of it, and maybe I sacrifice the chisel, but I didn't pay much for the chisel to begin with. I'm going to deal with it. So a lot of the chisels I have are all different brands and different types. Some are plastic handles, some are wood, and they were really meant for other things. But if I got them for an inexpensive price, I'm going to use them for my purposes. And if I need to sacrifice them in order to make money, that's what I will do. Yes, I know at some point I will see more and I will pick them up. So that being said, a set of inexpensive wood chisels to start would be good. A caulking gun. You can spend a lot of money on a caulking gun, but you don't have a need to. You really don't. I like the ones that I can puncture the tube that has that on it. But guess what? There's a disadvantage. When you hold it with your hand, that part that went into the tube is now getting your hand with caulking. Or when you bump it up against something, it's leaving caulking there. So yes, that innovation's neat, but it has its disadvantages. You have to be aware of what they are. Some of them have a deal where you put the tube in and it'll cut the tip off. Neat.
Oh, those are nasty.
But you should be aware that everything has a price. Okay. You will need a caulking gun. You don't have to spend a lot of money on it, but you will need a caulking gun. Tape measures. That's another thing that every time I see a deal, I pick them up. Every time they go on sale, 2 for $10, I'm buying them up. I remember one time there was an attempt to make an inexpensive tape measure with a light on it, and the lights would wear out and go. Nobody wanted to replace the watch battery on them, so they got real unpopular. So there was like a half a shopping cart full of them on sale for $2 a piece. I bought every one of them. I used them for a long, long time. I just set them back and I wore them all out. I don't have one left. They were red with black and had a little light come out, but I didn't care. It was a 16-foot tape measure that I paid $2 for. I can afford to lose them, break them, bend them, burn them, whatever. I can afford now. It's less costly for me to have that tool, but you will always need tape measures. And you can have your favorite tape measure for 10 years if you want. But at some point, the spring on the inside will give out. It will get so rusty that you won't be able to see the numbers. It will get bent. It will get wrinkles in it, and those wrinkles will turn into things that will cut your fingers. You will be replacing. Mind you, keep in mind, I think I probably have said this before, if 300 years goes by and nobody maintains anything, the only thing will be left is pieces of glass in the pyramids to point out that mankind was here. We are always replacing and repairing and building more new things to maintain the life that we live.
You need to be thankful for that because it gives a repairman a place.
And so the repairman is always going to be there. There's not a robot going to replace him. No matter what they say, that's not going to happen. they can affect the economy by just saying that robots are going to do that and that AI is going to do that. Let me give you, for instance, a sampling of what AI is doing. I talked to a gentleman today, last weekend, and I said, "Hey, how's it going looking for your job?" He's an IT guy. He said, "Man, it's horrible. People put out a job that is needed, and within an hour, they got 300 applications, and that is from everybody set up their AI to go straight to that, and they have their AI set up to turn their resume to match exactly what that position needed." Okay. So now this company has tons of people that are applying to these jobs, and they have to go through them.
Real people.
Well, they're not filled out by real people, and so that a lot of times the AI is lying. By the way, they don't call it lying; they call it hallucinations. But you can program it to fit. Hey, get me any job you can find in this area or this skill level, and it will make it where you can fill every one of the applications, and it'll just, as soon as it comes out, it'll hit it. Neat. Except that now they have to wade through 300 online applications to find somebody good. Okay. What that's doing is making them throw up their hands. It's like, this is ridiculous. Half of these people don't answer their phone because they don't recognize the number.
Yeah, if you're looking for a job, pick the phone up.
If you're needing a job, you pick up and answer every phone call. Every one. I do not understand that. It's a young person thing. I don't recognize the number, I'm not answering. You're looking for a job, you better tell everybody that calls you that you're looking for a job. Okay. But anyway, AI is doing these kind of things so that it makes you go back to what? Hey, walk in and talk to me. Hi, my name is such and such. AI cannot do that. And then they still have to interview you. Even if AI did your application, it cannot answer the interview for you, and it cannot do your job for you. Okay. There are going to be people out there saying, well, no, I can get AI to do my job. But if you can get AI to do your job, they don't need you. They don't need you. If there's not going to be a job opening if AI can do your job. All right. And I can go on this, but believe me, this AI, this idea that AI is going to cause, havoc everywhere. Whenever cars came along, horses weren't being used anymore. It slowly pushed the horses out of the taxi business. Okay. People were still riding horses for quite a while, and probably some people are still riding horses. Okay. It's not going to be like that. Okay. It will take some of the jobs.
You need to make your job not takeable.
But it's not going to be the repairman, the maintenance man. It's not going to happen. Okay. It's just not going to happen. So you need to have the ability to present yourself. And your tools are not what they're looking at. It's you. Okay. So you're using your tools and being comfortable with where your toolboxes are. How about that for a toolbox? What's in each box? Maybe label it, or bag. I find that bags can take up less space, but they tend to get holes in them. All this less than leather tool bags, which you will need that hang on to your hips this time. They are cheaper, or they were, but leather is far longer lasting, far longer lasting, and holds up better to all the different chemicals and stuff like that. it just doesn't work out as well. And you can argue with me all you want about it. I already know I have both. Leather costs more. But to start with, you'll need some tool pouches to put your tools in whenever you got multiple tools that you need to put in your pocket and you don't want to put in your coat. You're going to need that. You're going to need a toolbox to have certain, like all your plumbing stuff in. You're going to need one. Okay. When it comes to plumbing, we didn't talk about PEX tool. That's really where it's at now. A PEX crimp tool. So get ready because that's something you're going to need. You will need a cheapy cutter. You can get one, I think, for less than $20. To cut the PEX, you can actually cut the PEX with a razor knife, but it's a little difficult to do. It tends to end up with you cutting your finger. So those are some basic things that you're going to need. That PEX tool is basically going to be $50-$60. And in climbing, the supplies you don't need until you know what you need. At some point, you'll buy the supplies in bulk and it'll be around. So you can go fix some plumbing things so you don't have to go to the store. That's all theory because you'll end up going to the store anyway. Electrical and plumbing, invariably, you'll never have everything you need. If you did, there would be no need for a plumbing store or a plumbing section. Okay. You're not going to be able to carry it all. You can carry things that you know consistently that you're going to use. You get used to that. Shut-offs and things like that. I mean, it's kind of expensive now. So consider your PEX tools. That might be something that you want to have in your array of tools. Another electrical tool that is very, very handy and has a plug-in tester that you plug into an outlet, and it will tell you on the 4 or 5 different, 6 different things on it, what's wrong with that outlet that it's not working. Like no power, no neutral, open ground, hot and neutral swapped, a number of things it'll tell you. And all you got to do is plug it in. An electrical tester, an inexpensive electrical tester, just so you can check to see if it's 110, if it's actually hot, or if it's if you actually have 220, or what I was checking today was ohms or DC. I was checking a transformer, but the ohms allows you to test through a water heater element. You have to turn the power off and then check one end to the other on the electrical connections. And if it says open line, you got a burnt element. And you can do that with anything that's a heating element. Again, it's really not very expensive. I think that plug-in tester, you can buy one for like $7, $6-7. A stud finder, you can get the expensive ones, and you can get a cheaper one for like 10-15. They're really neat. A 6-inch finishing trowel, a set of finishing tools might be a good idea, but you might need to know how to use those things. But still, you can use it for putting in grout. You can use it for any number. Yeah, it can be used for a lot of different things. A finishing tool. And I have a lot of different sizes, and I'm really not fussy about brand. I literally try to change my handles so that I don't use the same thing over and over, and therefore get carpal tunnel syndrome from holding your hand the same way all the time. So I change my finishing tool brands constantly. I'd change them up. And I try to use stainless because if I don't use it for a month, they're not rusted. Whereas if you do metal, which bends better, is less hard on your wrist, you have to keep it oiled or it will rust when you get ready to pull it out. Now you got to sand it or get rid of it because it has pits in it that will show into the finish. There are a number of other tools that you could get. One is a good light. Hopefully you get with whatever battery powered tools you get a light, but you might also want like a little pin light, a headlamp light, and a plug-in light. Even just different types of battery lights that like I have some rechargeable Craftsman lights, and I have some other off-brand lights that are rectangular, and they come in handy lots of times, lots and lots and lots and lots
I've
of times.
sold one of them.
Yeah,
I use them to check eggs
yeah.
for incubation.
So we've covered quite a few things, and
If we need to do tools again, we can do them again next week.
we can try next week to talk about uh, the more expensive tools, what other levels you would go to. Uh, but that is a basic tools thing. And I will talk about other things next time, the higher end, the next level. And you can get way out there. But hopefully that's helpful. These are all things that I went through. It's not something I inherited. I had to buy every tool. And I've lost them all. I've had them stolen. You name it, I've had it happen to me. So those are things I wanted to leave with you tonight. And
Hopefully tomorrow we'll be on multiple platforms.
tomorrow we're going to be doing TikTok, same time, 8 p.m. Central. And I wish you guys all the best. May trouble always follow you and never